Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Engagement Ideas Summit. Our guest today is Dr. Joshua Fredenburg, author of 7 books, TEDx speaker, toured and performed and spoken in 47 states, president of the Circle of Change Leadership Conference. You never stop moving. I see you doing like webinars and talks, and you're hosting many conferences coming up. The world wants to know, what do you eat that keeps you moving? I want to eat what you eat. You never stop.
That's a really great question. Yeah. So first of all, as you can tell, I'm kind of big, so I like to eat. So if we want to talk about what I shouldn't eat, well, I love burritos. I love burritos. I love spaghetti, and I've come to love salmon. Now, what should I eat? If you talk to my doctor in the morning, I've started drinking vegetable drinks, drinking water, a banana, an apple, and turmeric. By the afternoon, I try to do a turkey sandwich, a salad, and chips. I'm trying to get away from the chips. And then at night, my standard meal, my wife is Colombian, so I'm out here in South Florida, is brown rice, black beans, and grilled chicken or salmon. So that's normally what I eat on a daily basis.
You are nonstop. So in all sincerity, like it's fun to watch all the stuff that you're doing. Today we're going to be talking about higher ed, and we're going to be talking about it, working with advisors at campuses across the country. But I also know something about you, that you were a substitute teacher in Los Angeles. What was your What was your most memorable moment as a substitute teacher?
Yeah, so I was a substitute teacher for 6 years. It was actually what I did in order to build my speaking business. And honestly, my most memorable moment was when I was given the opportunity to be the sub of a band class. So I was a sub of a band class for 1 semester. Now catch this, I've never played an instrument ever in my life, but I was a sub for the band class. But at this time, there was a lot of low morale. A lot of people felt that the students weren't going to be able to accomplish nothing. They felt the year was going to be a wash. So I get in there, and one of my students plays 7 instruments. So immediately leadership kicks in, and I had him start leading the class through the songs. And so ultimately, not only were the kids transformed, not only were they motivated, but literally their life was changed. We ended up doing performances. People were blown away. We actually created a documentary called United as One. And in the documentary, we talked about the story of our classroom, and we talked about how we dealt actually with racial injustices. At that time, there was really great racial tension between Blacks and Mexicans in Southern California. And we began to talk about those issues in the classroom, and people, their eyes were open, they were awoken. They understood the importance of respecting all people, no matter who you are. And it was just a transformational experience. I mean, really one of the highlights of my life was that band class and what we were able to do together in order to create positive change, not only in the class, but also within our campus community and community at large.
Oh, that's great. And you incorporate social justice into most of your programs now, correct?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, I'm always talking about the importance of, having an inclusive lens of leadership. And social justice is such an ambiguous word. And I think sometimes there's so many different ways we can take that word. But I just think that generosity and giving back is a part of social justice. So just in being a speaker and giving back, you're doing social justice every time you step on the platform. But obviously, there's different variations of it when you deal with race and you deal with inclusion, and even now they begin to talk about equity. So it's multifaceted, but yeah, absolutely. I think I'm an advocate of social justice every single day.
Right, but you get invited to speak at a lot of different kinds of events. So I'm sure that you're really good at pivoting your messaging, but it's always around influence and leadership.
I talk about leadership. I talk about diversity and inclusion. I talk about retention. As well as millennials. So I talk about millennials as well, and really how to engage and develop them as well. So I know my bread and butter was leadership and diversity and inclusion, but there's definitely much more that I talk about as well.
Right. And in the last few months, how have you, what have been some of the ways that you've really been able to pivot from being an in-person speaker to a virtual speaker?
Yeah, so for me, to be honest with you, I have this mantra: be ahead of the curve. So for me, it's all about being ahead of the curve, similar to what you did with your Facebook group, which has exploded during this time. I think that's the kind of leadership that we need, people that are visionary and people that see ahead. So as a speaker, I've been just trying to figure out, how can I be ahead and how can I still provide value virtually?
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of learning. So obviously I've learned a lot. So from where I was in March to where I am now, as far as delivering virtual content, virtual engagement, and virtual programming, I've definitely grown. I've definitely learned a lot, and I'm still learning a lot because there's so much to learn. And to be perfectly honest with you, Jason, I remember when I first started this journey of virtual programming, we were on a virtual masterclass that we did. And I was like, only 12 to 15 minute videos are effective because people tune out. I completely disagree with that now. I believe you can do a 60 to 90 minute virtual keynote, virtual workshop presentation that people will be locked in, engaged, and this is what I believe, and I'm striving there to have the same type of impact as in person. I believe it can happen. There's just different things you have to understand in order to make that experience come alive.
The first few that you did, you experience certain things that you adapt and you grow as a speaker, right? Right now,
Right.
don't you feel like you're going to incorporate a lot of the things that you've learned virtually? Your next in-person event, you're going to be a better speaker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. When I'm in person, it goes to a whole nother level. And honestly, Jason, that takes innovation to another level.
Yeah.
Because now that we're so used to doing polls and so used to giving out prizes and integrating Kahoot, now when we go in person, we can actually figure out how can we implement that. And also, how can we implement live stream while we're doing it in person? So there's so many different dynamics that come to play as we begin to evolve.
It's cool to think about the future of our events, our in-person events, how this pandemic, this experience, this chapter of our lives is actually going to make our presentations better, which is great. Right?
Absolutely. They're going to make them great. Exactly.
You're going to make them great. I mean, you were great before, but you're going to be greater.
Exactly. I always tell people, Jason, you never stop growing. I think I'm a big sports fan. And so I'm a fan of athletes, especially athletes that are really good, because I like to know their mindset and their mental capacity. And one of the things I've learned, they never stop getting better. I like what LeBron James says. He says, strive for greatness. You never stop getting better. And so I think the same is true with us for speakers. No matter how good you get, you can always get better. There's always something to improve upon. Like even the audience, like, oh, that was amazing. It was life changing. And maybe some people were crying and boo-hooing, but at the end of the day, there was still something you could have done better. And I think that keeps you humble.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as a speaker, and also keeps you sharp, so that every time you get up, how can I take it even to another level?
Right. Hey, and so let's apply that same philosophy to folks who are professionals in higher ed right now and our advisors that we work with. What sort of advice could you give to them?
I think number one is to identify your student audience. So first of all, have an awareness of who are you serving and how are they going to be receiving your information. Now, I say that because if you go to certain institutions, students may have everything they need to go on Zoom. They may have all the Wi-Fi and all the bells and whistles. But you have other students that don't have Wi-Fi. You have access areas, and you have a lot of other challenges. And so really, I think it's important to understand where your students at, and then what technology would be most beneficial for your students. I think that's number one. I think number two is to identify, okay, what type of programs can we create that's going to be engaging to our students? And there's a variety of different things. I think that games are great. I think that, scavenger hunts, and I see a lot of, artists and poets. I think that's all wonderful. I think that's all important. But also remember, we're an educational institution. And so I think you still have to have some sort of programming from an educational standpoint as well. And it's just a matter of identifying what programs are effective. And this is where the innovation comes in. And then beginning to find people that can actually deliver it at a high level. And this is important because one of the things about virtual presentations is it can literally affect you. If you're someone that may build off the crowd and you don't like talking into a camera, it can affect the way you present. And so I think it's really important for people to identify that, who can actually speak to a camera and still be all right and who can't. Again, there's a lot of great speakers out there that can do that. And also to make sure someone can actually move a crowd or be engaging. Some people can do it and some people can't. And I think even more important than ever before, if you're going to be effective, you can't just choose anyone and just throw them up there and say, oh, just go talk because I want to save money. I like this notion. A lot of people say with virtual, save money, it's not going to be as much. No, that's not true. if you want your students to be impacted, you're going to have to invest, because in order to have the quality and the outcome, it's going to take investment. It's going to take unique things that you can add to your programming. So like I'll just share this example real quick as a speaker. Yeah. Then when I first started, I was just a Zoom presentation, but now I've learned how to create graphics. I've learned how to implement polls. By the way, when I do a presentation now, I have a video manager. I don't even manage the stuff no more. I have someone that does that for me, because they're able to add polls, they're able to add graphics, they're able to add things. And that makes a huge difference in the engagement and getting your students involved. Just the fact that they're going to see something different. And I did it this Monday, and no lie, Jason. So I have a countdown video now. Yeah. So when they start seeing a countdown video and they start seeing graphics, like, wait a minute, what the heck? Automatically, because it looks better, it's going to cause them to be engaged. And then if you're a great communicator, which most speakers are, that's going to just be more into what you're trying to do. So
that's great. What advice would you give, though, just in terms of for somebody who is an advisor who is going to be running meetings, right? What sort of things have you learned about this format without all the bells and whistles? Right. What advice would you give to somebody who's running a meeting?
I think number one, there can't be this just show up to the meeting and just start talking. You got to be very detailed and very organized if you're going to be effective, right? So if I'm going to do a meeting, I got to be very, very intentional, not only about my schedule, not only about my flow, but how I'm going to engage the students throughout the presentation. So it's kind of like a mastermind. We're going to have a mastermind, and we're going to have a meeting, but I'm going to have different things embedded into my meeting that's going to keep people engaged. And so that's really important to understand, whatever that may look like. It can be different. Maybe you want to start and say, I want to do a poll. How many of you this? And then based off that poll, then you lead into your conversation. Maybe, it's whatever you feel works good. But the key thing I think that I want to express, very detailed, very intentional, and very planned out on how you do the meeting, because I think that's more important than ever before. I like to tell people virtual engagement and programming is ultimately like running a TV show. I grew up working in television. I worked for talk shows. It's the same thing. Like literally, Jason, I give my video guy a production schedule. Okay. Because we have to be aware of everything that is going on all the way down. And so I think if you're going to do a meeting, what is your production schedule? And even let someone else run the chat room. Let someone else include a team that does the meeting versus yourself, because then you can do more stuff, from a basic standpoint to be effective.
Yeah. And on your production schedule and on your team, are they in your home? Where are they?
Oh, great question. So my video guy is based in Portland, Oregon. So let that sink in. He's in Portland.
And where are you?
I'm in Florida, in my house. So he's in his house in Florida, and I'm in Portland. I'm in Florida. And then when we do our virtual master classes now, we actually have a video manager, and I'm actually including a chat room team. So it's like sideline reporters. And so she'll be in New York, and the other one will be in Arizona. So we're all across the country delivering content virtually.
That's really cool. And we could not do that 4 months ago. It would never have occurred to us, right?
Never would have thought about it. And this is the thing, Jason. This is the thing. It's only going to get better, because you have these creative geniuses out there that are going to start thinking, that are going to start innovating, and are going to be creating stuff like, oh, I didn't know about this. Oh, I didn't know about this. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Tony Robbins video. Look what he did.
He had like 22,000 people.
22,000 people, but his setup. Yeah. His setup, and this was the kicker, right? This is the kicker. So we do our Circle of Change leadership experience, and obviously we're going virtual. And we have a great speaker, Troy Stindy, and he does board breaking. And we were like, man, we're not going to be able to do this year because it's virtual. Well, Tony Robbins did it. So we just made a decision last week that we're implementing board breaking virtually. We're going to have a virtual board breaking experience at the Circle of Change Leadership Conference. Jason, you're the first one to know besides me and Troy right now. But we're going to implement that because we've discovered a way to do that. Would I have known that 3 months ago? Nope. But as we evolve, you start seeing it, and you start seeing how you can implement it. And that's the thing. This is a learning experience for those hired professionals that are looking for jobs. This is your chance to really get ahead of the curve and position yourself for career success, because there's things you can learn now that every institution in the world really is going to need.
Right.
This is the time you can be ahead of the curve. And so I think that's so vitally important.
That's so cool. Yeah, it is. It's great advice, because it's time, if you have not gotten off the couch and jumped in, it's time.
Jump on in. It's time. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, so you were talking about basketball. What was your when was your first time ever going to a professional basketball game?
Ooh, I got to think about that one. Yeah. I think my first was the Lakers when I was in college. I think that was the first one I ever went to. It was it wasn't even a professional. I think so. I used to when I was in college, I volunteered for an organization for an event called Midsummer Night's Magic. It was Magic Johnson. He did this major event in Los Angeles, had celebrities, concerts, but every Sunday he would have a professional basketball game with all kinds of professional athletes. And so I think that was my first experience where I was around professional athletes. I was like on the court. It was like amazing. Yeah. I'm like so mad. I wish I would have took pictures when I did all this back in the day. I could show, but it's what it is. So.
And do you have a an opening song? Do you have a song that, like, if you were running out onto the basketball court, if you were playing in the game, right? If you were playing in the game, what's the song that's playing?
All I Do Is Win. I like DJ Khaled. All I Do Is Win. I like that one. There's another one. It's funny, for my countdown. My countdown video. I had to think about that kind of music. Oh, right, so I like Black Eyed Peas. I Got a Feeling. Dun, dun, dun. It's like really hyped up. Yeah. I also like Survivor by Beyonce. Dun, 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 it's the beat.
Now, it's a really cool beat. There's no chance of you singing Survivor right now to me, is there?
Yeah. Oh, no. Hey, I don't know, Jay. You can sing, Jay, so you may be able to, pull out that guitar.
I would love for you to sing me a Beyonce song. That'd be funny.
Oh no, I am not a singer. I had my talent show experiences though. Trust me, they were hits though. I could not sing at all, but I had a lot of. Like one time, like honest true story, there was this girl in the audience. I don't know if people remember the song, the Usher song, "A Penny for Your Kiss." So I had pennies on stage, and I started throwing pennies to the audience. And I mean, it was like, I'm not lying to you. I was in college. People came to see me perform. My singing was horrific. I had no singing ability, but the performance, Jason, and the energy. So yeah,
that's awesome. Have you done do you like karaoke? Have you done any karaoke?
I do like karaoke. Again, I wish I could sing. As you know, I'm in church, so I actually was in a choir. Yeah. So actually, as a preacher as well, I can lead them. Like lift up, I can do all that, but I cannot sing. Right. I can lead it though. I can do a Kirk Franklin. What
does that mean?
That means I just lead.
Okay.
I know that I can,
We didn't even mention that in your intro. Again, an example of how you don't sleep, right? You are. How many? Are you doing one a week or a couple a week when you're
one a week? Yeah, I do one a week. Yeah, I've been doing one a week since this whole pandemic. It looks like I'm not stopping. Virtual, right? Virtual has created that. So I just every week we're here. And I try to get people to speak though.
Yeah, is that growing? That must be growing because you're now global, right?
I'm global, right? Yeah. I mean, I've seen, people watch and again, interest, we're improving. To be honest with you, we now have learned I can pre-record it now. I've learned how to edit in. There's so much. When I first started, was just going live. But now I've learned how to pre-record beforehand. I've learned we actually literally did a worship session in my living room. Yeah. And so we pre-recorded. So now we have pre-recorded worship. And so now when you do the whole service, we can embed different videos and stuff throughout the whole presentation. Matter of fact, that's another, I didn't even thought about bringing that into speaking, but there's so many, virtual just changes everything.
But it also, for in the worship side of it, what you're doing is you're creating a possibility for more folks to access the message because it doesn't have to be you don't have to watch that if it's recorded at 10 a.m. on Sunday. You could
exactly
do it at 6 p.m. on Monday if that's what works in your schedule. If you're a working parent or if you're a busy family, so that's another thing that I think is also going to carry over into the higher ed world, where our meeting or our presentation, just because in the past we did it at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning for a leadership conference, we can do it. We can provide it to the student leaders and they can access it on their time. I mean, you and I, you love this, you love the engagement, you love the back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, again, this is a true story, true speaking story. So I've been doing all these presentations and I got everything set up. And I get on to do a live for a client and my sound goes bad. And I'm talking for like 20 minutes and they're like, it's bad. Their chat, it's bad. I finally realized it. So I don't know what's going on. Luckily, I had a Zoom room just in case. We got to switch to a Zoom room. My mic is still not going good. I had to throw it off and just talk. Yeah. I just had to go. It was the most amazing experience. But here's the catch, Jason, right? This is what I was able to do for the client. I said, don't worry about it. I'm sorry for what happened. I deeply apologize. I'll give you another free keynote since it messed up. But in addition, I'm going to go back and pre-record it, and I'm going to send you a pre-recorded good message of this entire presentation. That's going to be great. The client gets pre-recorded because it's virtual, and I offer a free experience again where if I'm a client, I'm like, man, this is great. I mean, it was bad, but now I can use this and I can show it down the line, and they're not going to get the bad. They're going to get the good. And I think that's one of the great things about virtual is, if there's a mix-up, you just roll through it and then make an adjustment
make it better,
and still have a quality product.
But this is also a lesson that we could share with our folks in higher ed. If they're advising students and you need to get a message to students, you can record your message.
Absolutely. Oh, you can record the whole thing. Oh yeah, exactly.
Right. If you're like, we need to have a meeting so that I can tell you these 5 things. Mm-hmm. You can record the 5 things and then send it to them in an email or use some of the other technology that's out there. Anyway, this has been a cool conversation.
Yeah, and also I was going to share that from what I understand, I believe with social media, people watch videos more than they read. So that's a whole nother thing. You can put out a message on Instagram, on Facebook. You can put the captions underneath so people can actually get your message versus waiting for them to be where you're at. So.
Yeah. All right. So to close up today, what's some final words of wisdom for all of our friends out there in higher ed?
Final words of wisdom. I think one word is adaptable. Be adaptable.
Adaptable.
I think it was Charles Darwin that said, it's not the smartest that survive. It's not the strongest that survive. It's the one that's most adaptable. And I think right now, more than ever, students, professionals, anyone, you got to be adaptable and you got to learn how to lead, how to live in times of uncertainty and uncomfortability. Now, here's the catch. The great thing about uncertainty and uncomfortability is that I always use the notion good is an enemy of great because good is comfortable. Great requires uncomfortability and uncertainty. So if you can learn how to navigate uncomfortability and uncertainty, you're getting closer and closer towards becoming great in whatever your area of expertise is.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was my last word, Jay.
That's great. All right. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do a 10. Give me 10.
10. There we go.